Welcome everyone to tonight's program, Wine 101. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Carla Bowman. I'm the Adult Services Manager here at the Euclid Public Library, and I'm very excited about our program this evening. I am an occasional wine drinker, but really don't know much beyond the very basics, so I'm really hoping to learn some new wines to try. I'd like to introduce tonight's speaker. Wanda Haynes is going to be telling us about wine. Wanda is a sommelier, I never can pronounce this word, sommelier, and host of the award-winning Wine with Wanda, which is on WCTV in Wadsworth, Ohio. Thanks for joining us, Wanda. Before I turn the program over to Wanda, I just want to take a note about questions. Wanda will pause occasionally as she's speaking and is glad to answer any questions you have. You can unmute yourself or type questions into the chat. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Wanda. Wanda, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your journey?
I always love talking about the journey, and it has been a journey. So I actually started out working in libations with a company in Alexandria, Kentucky called WHAM. It was for single malt Scotch tastings, not wine. Well, because they were in another state, I think they didn't understand the logistics of the cities. So they started sending me further and further out into the state to do the tastings. She gave me one job in Put-in-Bay. Now, all of us know that Put-in-Bay is a long way from Canton, Ohio. It's a long way from Cleveland, Ohio. So I wasn't able to continue on with it, but it was very lucrative and a lot of fun. The other thing is how much Scotch can you actually drink? It really is a very, very strong alcoholic beverage, and you just can only drink so much of it. But I did enjoy it. So at the time, I had a gentleman friend, and I am single, and we used to go to various wineries and things like that, and I caught what's known as the wine bug. And let me tell you, there is no cure for the wine bug except to keep learning about wine and to drink more wine. That's how you have to, I mean, you're bitten by the wine bug. You can't do anything about it. You're like rendered helpless to the wine. So I became more and more interested. I started learning and taking wine seminars with some noted sommeliers like Sterling Roig, and I really adore what he's about. He's in New York, he's sommelier, and I started learning from books and things like that. But I will tell everyone that the best way to learn about wine is drinking the wine. I can tell you what I know. You're welcome to email me and ask me whatever you like. But the best way to learn the wine is by drinking the wine. And no matter what I read, how many seminars I took, wine, webinars, whatever, the best way was to learn the wine. Because I can tell you that something tastes like sage and oak and cedar, but when you taste it, then you know that it tastes like oak and it tastes like rosemary or, whatever. So the best way is to learn. So then I was just telling the host before everyone came on that I'm retired as a floating secretary with the local school district. But during that time, I was kind of juggling two things. I was doing that, and again, I've been bitten by the wine bug, so I was rendered helpless. I was also taking part-time jobs, not for the money so much, but because I want to learn. So I became a wine steward at a very high-end grocery store, and I learned a lot there. And so that's when I started to do some of the writing. And I've written for many, many publications, including Hartville, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. I've written for lots of publications over this time span. So I said, well, why don't I become certified? Like, what's into this certification? Well, there's a lot of studying. There's a very high cost to the sommelier certification, but I held my course, and then I took the test and did very well at it. So that's from the sommelier certification. There are various certifications that you can get Master of Wine, but you need to work in the industry in order to get the certification and to hold the certification, whether that's in distributor or teaching or making wine or whatever. So that's my journey. And I started learning so many things and saw that so many other people did not know these things. I want to teach them. And I love people. And my gosh, how I love wine. I'm absolutely enthralled with wine. I love everything about it. I love discussing it, drinking it, collecting it. I'm first and foremost a wine lover, and I love to teach about it. So that's kind of where I am, how I learned about it. And I'm always learning. Let me tell you, I'm a student of wine as well, maybe on a different level, but I'm also a student because wine never stops teaching you. There's always a new wine. There's always changes in the industry, the legalizations, the laws, the costs. There's always something new to learn. And I love that because I'm a lifetime learner. So I love wine. I love teaching about it. It really isn't much deeper than that. And that's kind of how I got started with it.
That is great. It's such an interesting story. And I believe you have some wines to share with us tonight.
Oh, I do.
Before
I show them, I'd like to go over what I call wine etiquette. Wine etiquette is a very big deal. And I know that everyone here this evening has impeccable manners. We were all brought up with manners. I'm a certain age, and if manners weren't brought up to my mother's expectation, you heard about it and loudly. So I was brought up to be very, very polite, like most of us were. And but wine etiquette's a little bit different. Sometimes people think they can overlook it and still look as though they're polite. I don't think that's true, though, everybody. Wine etiquette is very much lacking, especially with Americans for some reason. So I'd like to go over a little bit of wine etiquette with you. So when the wine comes to the table, whether it's a bar or at a friend's house or a very shishi restaurant, we don't start gulping that wine down like it's tap water. There's a couple of things that we do. And having poor manners with wine, as well as anything else, does tell things about you. So if you don't want people to see you with poor manners, take a look at this. So I have a wine glass here with me, and obviously you can see that it's nothing more than bottled water. And so this is a large glass by any standard. I believe it's about 14-ounce glass. And so when the wine comes, one of the things you want to do is to look at the wine on a snow white background, or as white a background as you can find. I have a good old paper towel. You just lean it in a little bit and you can see the color with all of its splendor on that stark white optic background. Whether it's a rosé, you want to gauge that. And whether it's a red, you want to look at the outline of the wine so you see the color through this. Now, if you don't have it at the table, do the best you can. But when you tip it to the side like that, just a little bit, you can take a look at the color of the wine. Now, what you want to do is you want to smell that wine. I rotate my glass, usually 10 or 12 rotations. Okay. You can go more if you like. You can sit it on the table and swirl it. If you're not comfortable doing it in your hand like that, you can sit it and swirl it. And then you want to take it to your nose. You want to put your nose down in the glass, everybody. And you want to smell and see what you smell. If you have a Cabernet Sauvignon, let's just say, for example, you're more likely going to get the oak from the barrels. You're going to get some sage, maybe, probably some dark fruits. Maybe a little cocoa powder, maybe some leather, maybe a little bit of smoke, depending on the quality of the wine, what you're going to smell. You're going to, if you have a red wine, it's going to depend upon the age of that wine. If you're drinking what I call these brand new wines, like a 2019 red wine, you're doing yourself a very poorly disservice. That wine's too young to drink. And we have a bad habit in the US of drinking really young wines. Drinking a red wine that's probably 2 or 3 years old would be the equivalency of asking your granddaughter or niece to go change the oil in the car. That's about that level. It's just not capable of giving you what it has because it's too young. And all you have to do is hold it for a little while or buy an older version of that wine. Does that make sense? So now you have the glass of wine and you've given it your 10 or 12 rotations to get some aeration into the glass, just some air. Now you can smell it. What do you smell? Take your time. There's no hurry unless there's a hurry. You smell the wine. Okay, now you've got a sense of what's in the glass. If it's a Chardonnay, then you're more likely going to smell the pineapple right off the bat, the peeled, poached peaches, that type of thing. Now it's time to take a sip of the wine. Let it roll around in your mouth. Go over your tongue and your gums and your teeth and let it roll around in your mouth. Those are all sensors. They tell you what's in the glass. Take another one. Let it sit on your tongue for a moment. That weighs it. If it's a light wine like a Pinot Noir, it'll barely be on your tongue. If it's a heavier, full body wine like a Merlot or a Cab, you'll feel the wine more prevalently on your tongue. Does that make sense to everybody so far? And some also matters that, come on, we have to watch this. Now I'm wearing makeup, and I always wear makeup and plenty of it. So after I drink, and I obviously have a little bit of lip gloss on the glass, it isn't fair to turn that glass into some dishwasher who's making $10 an hour to clean that off. And believe me, they're not happy when they see this. So just, discreetly, girls, just take a paper towel or your napkin, just get a little bit of that off if you can, especially if you're at a friend's house. You don't want to burden them with that. And so you've drank on this part of the glass. You don't keep switching the glass around in a circle like this, like a merry-go-round. You drink from the same part you were drinking from before, especially if you're wearing lip gloss or makeup, because then you have this big circle of makeup all around and it looks awful. So you want to drink from the same part you were drinking from before. This is where I was drinking before. I'll take a sip like that again. And every once in a while, you'll want to rotate the glass to give it some more air, because it evolves and changes in the glass. The more air it gets, the more the wine evolves and changes and gives you more of what it's able to give you. Anybody have any questions about that so far? Okay. One of the things people ask me quite often is, say you're going to a person's house for dinner or a barbecue, and you're taking a hostess gift, which I always do. I'm sure most of you do as well. It could be anything, obviously, but if you're taking wine, here's the rule with this. That person is not obligated to open that wine during the meal. If you want them to do that because you want to have some of that wine, you can always say, hey, Carla, I bought this wine to serve with dinner tonight. I haven't had a chance to try it either. Would that be okay? Now make sure the wine makes sense with what the person is serving. If they're serving chili, you're not going to want to bring a white wine. If they're serving steak, you're not going to want to bring a white wine. Make sure the wine pairs up somewhat with what you're having, so it makes sense to introduce the wine to the meal. But they are not obligated, unless you make some very specifications, to open that wine in your presence, even share it with you at all. It was a gift to them to use the way they wanted. So I know a lot of people do get hard feelings over that, going, well, she didn't open the wine. I bought the wine for dinner. Make sure you specify that, and don't have expectations that aren't realistic, because that can cause hurt feelings. And we never want to ever use something as beautiful as a glass of wine to cause hurt feelings, anybody. Any questions so far before I move forward? All right, then, good enough. So in the procession of wine, sparkling always goes first. It's sparkling, it's dry whites, it's rich whites, it's rosé, it's light reds, it's medium reds, and then you go to your full body reds. So let's talk about sparkling a little bit. It can be a very confusing conversation. So the queen of the sparkling wines would be champagne, obviously, and there is no better thing to drink than it. I love champagne, absolutely. But let's be honest, it isn't always affordable, okay? It isn't. Now, champagne is from the Champagne region of France. It's not from any other place. If it's from somewhere else and it's called something else, it's not a champagne. So let's try to clear up our, dialogue when we talk about sparkling wine. If it isn't a champagne, don't call it that. A champagne is from the Champagne region of France. However, there are sparkling wines from France that are made in the same method. It's called method traditionnel or champenoise. So here is a bottle of champagne. Now, this is a half bottle of wine. I purposely showed you a half bottle of wine. It is from Moet and Chandon, the White Star label, and it is the largest champagne house in France. Well, this half bottle is lovely, because let's just say you have someone at your home and you've invited them for a drink. Well, a lot of people don't stop drinking when you want them to. They drink until the wine's gone, causing, some issues in lots of different directions, including maybe driving, on your dime. After they've drank at your house, nobody wants that. Everyone doesn't have the same personality after they've drank too much as when they were sober. You know what I mean? So this is a half bottle. It's 375 milliliters. A full bottle is 750 milliliters. Well, the other thing about a small bottle like this is, say you're not in the mood to drink a full bottle. I assure you, well, I can drink a full bottle of wine quite easily, but I don't always wish to. So this is a half bottle. Let's say you haven't had the wine, you want to try it, but you're not really into investing the full amount into that particular wine, then you can get a half bottle. More and more of the half bottles are on the market. A lot of things changed during the pandemic. We weren't spending as much, we weren't entertaining as much, we weren't entertaining as many people, and some of us weren't entertaining at all. That would be me, because I didn't feel comfortable with anyone in my house during some peak times of the virus. And I'm not really doing much of that now. So this half bottle has a lot of things that it can offer for you. Now, this is a Moet and Chandon, and obviously it is not inexpensive. This half bottle is around $37. The full bottle is around 65 or so. Around 75, I believe, for the full bottle. So the half bottle will also keep your costs down. If you're looking to give an impressive gift, but don't want to go too far, and you only want to spend maybe $40, so you get a half bottle. This is a real champagne. So that's a real champagne. Now, here is something that I would say tastes extremely similar for fractions. This is not the brand. The brand is called Magie, but this is a Cremant. It's made the exact same way as champagne is made. The method traditional or champenoise style of making a wine. Beautiful, beautiful wine. So this is made in France as well, but not in Champagne. You all follow me so far? So legally, it cannot be called a champagne. And out of respect for the French, it will not be called a champagne. They're very, very serious about that. And they will take legal actions against people who use those words. It's been done before. Even a fragrance that I happen to wear, by the way, called themselves champagne. They went wild over it and had to change the name. I forget what it's called now, but I still own it. I still do wear it. It's lovely. So this is a Cremant. The T is silent. It's made the exact same way. This is a full bottle, as you can say. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This bottle of wine costs around $18, $19, right? And I can tell you that this wine is so delicious, it needs a new word for it. It is magnificent. So that's a Cremant. So if you're looking for something that's champagne, but not champagne price, look for a Cremant. There's also a wine called, I just lost my train of the Prosecco. So there's a new Prosecco out, everybody. This Prosecco is the newest thing to come out in wine in about 80 years. It's a rosé Prosecco now. I don't have a bottle to show you. It's really hard to get now because it's so popular. It's a rosé Prosecco. A Prosecco used to be made from one grape, a Glera. Well, it's made from 85% Glera now and 15% other. That's the change. The other more than likely will be a Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a very light wine, and it's used in this new Prosecco. Wow, are they nice. It tastes like a green apple and like strawberry jam. It's still dry, and it tastes like raspberry lifesavers. It's really a nice wine, very refreshing, really good with like fried foods, like a veggie lasagna type dish. So if you see the rosé Prosecco, and there are many, by the way, Mianetto makes one, La Marca makes one, Villa Sandy, there are tons of them. I'm not shouting out any one particular because I haven't had them all because they're so new. They came out early this year, everyone. It's called a rosé Prosecco. There's also a Cava, C-A-V-A, from Spain. This wine is also made, let me regress. The Prosecco is not in a barrel. It's a very simple, easy drinking wine that's best drank young, okay? It's best drank young. So if you find a Prosecco that they just came out with last year, purchase that one. They're under $20. I hardly ever see them more than that. You definitely want to get the ones that are from Italy, period. Those are the ones to spend your money on. And like I said, there's a ton of Proseccos. They're made in a steel tank. They're never, ever in barrel. They're very fresh. They have large, frothy bubbles. So they're not a champagne. They're not as sophisticated as a champagne, but I love them. And I do own them and I do drink them. So definitely go with the Proseccos. They make really nice gifts for the money. Now I will move on to the Cava. Cava is the sparkling from Spain. The Cava is made from 3 different grapes, a Paradella, a Paradella, and the other one, oh my God, oh yeah, Zeno Mavro, and it's made from 3 grapes, 2 red, 1 white, just like a champagne. A champagne is made from a Chardonnay, Pinot Meunier, and a Pinot Noir. You never know what the variations. And if it says NV, it's non-vintage. Most of the time, you're going to have a non-vintage champagne. If you're purchasing a vintage champagne, you're looking at spending at least $150 for a vintage, like maybe it'll be a 96 or an 06, which is the God years. But yeah, the cavas are around $10-12 on the shelves. They're always overlooked. They come in a rosé form as well, but they are really, really nice. The cavas from Spain. The one in the black bottle, the Cordon Negro bottle, is by Freshenet. But yeah, if you see a cava, try them out if you're looking for a champagne. Any questions? Oh, I wanted to show you a glass, actually. This is a double-walled sparkling wine glass. As you can see, inside is the actual glass. Can you see inside is the glass? And then outside is more like the shell. Your hands never touch it. It stays colder that way, much longer. Okay. This is hand blown. But they do have some that are a little bit less exotic, as I will say. But this is definitely a really nice glass. I love the fact that your hands can keep holding them and the wine doesn't suffer from that. Any questions on the sparkling, anybody so far?
I have a question. It's not quite about the sparkling, but a few minutes ago you mentioned drinking half a bottle instead of a full bottle. If you do open a bottle of wine but do not finish it, any tips there, or how long will it keep, or
yeah,
any thoughts there?
That's a beautiful question. So one of the things I know that is an issue is that we all are keeping our wine way too long in the refrigerator. Even if it's a regular home refrigerator, it's too cold and it's too dry. If you do not have a wine refrigerator, you really need to just think about how long you're keeping those wines. They don't stay good for very long, everybody. A sparkling wine starts depreciating in its bubbles in with about 3-4 hours, to be honest. So if you're keeping that until the next day or 2 days, it's really flat, and it's really a disgrace, actually, because you're kind of, you're not drinking that as a sparkling wine anymore. But it can be used to macerate fresh fruit in. If it's flat, it would be given to a child because it still contains alcohol. So it's not for a minor anymore. It's still an adult beverage, but it is flat. But I have had them strawberries and blueberries and blackberries macerated with a flat sparkling wine. They really taste quite delicious, actually. And they can be worked out. And you might could even put a little bit into a lemonade. Again, the alcohol's still there, so it wouldn't be for your minors. But there are things you can do with a flat champagne. Now, a red wine is suggested that you keep it for about a week and a half or so. I don't suggest that long. That's too long. It's changed since then. If you open a wine, and there are some apparatuses that you can use to try to stabilize it and not have it go so downward hill on you. But the truth of the matter is, after about 3-4 days, I usually won't bother with it. It's changed too much, and you'll be able to tell if your palate is even slightly developed. A white wine, maybe a good week, I would say at the very, very most, and you sure should have it covered with everything you can come up with to cover it. Even if you use one of those apparatuses, I would still take a little bit of tin foil or saran wrap and even cover that, because those tastes of the refrigerator are really strong and they get into that wine. It never tastes the same, everybody. When you open it and leave it for 2, 3, 4 days, it never tastes the same. So I usually just finish the wine within 24 hours. But even me, I can notice the next day it's never quite as fabulous as it was when you opened the bottle initially. Does that make sense? Hope that answers your question. So we'll move on now to talk about white wines. So this wine it's completely empty. I drank the wine. So I want to talk about Chardonnays a little bit. I will say that I'm not a big New World wine drinker. New World wine drinkers are pretty much wines from the States and probably Australia. I think Chile may be included. I don't drink a lot of wines from the States. I like old world wines from France and Italy, like that. I do love Chardonnay, and I don't eat red meat. So I love a Chardonnay with my turkey. Today for dinner, I had a Chardonnay, an organic one, I had turkey cutlets and mashed potatoes and black-eyed peas as a heavy lunch. I'm not a very big dinner eater. I mainly eat during the middle of the day, so I don't have all the calories at the end of the day. But this is an unoaked Chardonnay. This is a company called Vega Sindoa. And it doesn't matter the company so much. I want to tell you what an unoaked Chardonnay is and what the difference is between that and an oaked Chardonnay. An unoaked Chardonnay has never been in an oak. It's always been its entire life in a stainless steel container. It didn't pick up the vanilla. It didn't pick up the oakiness. It didn't pick up the smooth mouthfeel. It's a lot sharper, more acidity, and it's a little bit more assertive in its taste and its flavor profile, and also what it pairs with. It does really well with heavily fried foods like fried fish or maybe fried chicken and dumplings, pot pies, you know how they have the heavy butter crust. An unoaked Chardonnay is lovely with that, but those are the differences. Now, an oaked Chardonnay is a completely different ball game. So it's been in an oak, and while it's in the oak, the word is spelled L-E-E-S. It's been put on its lees, which means the sedimentation in the bottom of the barrel has been stirred around on occasions to give the Chardonnay some character, some style, some structure, a lot of vanilla, perhaps some caramel, a smoother mouthfeel. So those are the differences. There are some wines, and Hess from California, H-E-S-S, makes a beautiful Chardonnay that's both worlds. It started out in a steel tank, and then they finish it in an oak barrel. So it's a little bit of both worlds. It isn't overly, they call that buttery or mallowy. That's a term that you hear wine people using. It just means it's really creamy, it's really buttery. And for some reason, wine professionals do not like buttery, overly oaked Chardonnays. I don't either. I will drink one if it's a little bit oaked, but I don't like it heavily oaked. I don't like the creamy mouthfeel. I don't like the over vanilla-y, butterscotchy taste. That's what I like. You may like one that's very heavily oaked. You won't always know that via way of the bottle, though. So you can turn your bottles over, everybody in the store and in the wine shop, and see what's going on. Now, this is 100% Chardonnay. They're not always, though. They could blend it with something else. Maybe it's only 10% something else, but they can still refer to it as a Chardonnay because it's 90% Chardonnay. So we don't always know what we're drinking. So turn the bottle over, see who the importer is. The importer has already did some of the work for you. Take a look at their entire portfolio they brought into the U.S. and see how delicious they may be. If you like some of their wines, you more than likely will like the majority of their wines. Does that make sense, everybody? So yeah, take a look at the importer here. Like this is an importer. Looks like the company is called Estes or Estates. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. My vision isn't what it was. Maybe it's called Estates, but yeah, they bring in an entire portfolio of wines. So take a look and see what they make. Do it online. But that's the difference between an oaked Chardonnay and an unoaked Chardonnay. Any questions so far?
We do have a question in the chat. Which is drier, oaked or unoaked?
That would be the unoaked. It will be crisper and just a bit drier, probably lower in calories. It didn't sit in the oak, as you know, it was only in the steel tank. So it's much crisper, a higher acidity level. The color is a bit brighter as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to show you a wine that I'm not sure you all are familiar with, and I only show it because it's fall. And, you know, Americans love that orange color, anything pumpkin and orange color, and I'm the same way. So this is what's known as an orange wine. It's when a white wine has been fermented with its skins, and it turns it orange. You can't see it in the bottle, but it's every bit as orange as the label. Okay, it's an orange wine. So this one is from California. I don't drink a lot of California wines. It's just not my thing. From a company called Field Recordings. It's called Skins. That's what orange wines are called, skins or skin contact wines or orange wine. They have several different names. So this one, I purchased it in 2019. I just haven't drank it yet. I have a lot of wine. This is a white wine. It's made, this particular bottle is made from Riesling, Pinot Grigio, and Chenin Blanc. It's a blend. And they aren't sharp in acidity like they were before they added the skins, a little bit smoother. I do like them. They don't have a lot of acidity, but it does have a cork, as you can see the cork is in. It's not a twist off. Yeah, but this is called a skin wine. They are orange, literally they are orange, and they're very, very nice. I think they work well with sushi. They sure do. They work well with baked chicken. Yeah, so if you haven't had a chance to try an orange wine, see if you can find them out on the market. You can order from Field Recordings from their website, Field Recordings, 2 words, and have it shipped to you in Ohio. You're going to have to pay for the shipping. I don't know how much that is, but you can order it directly from them. I believe this one is from wine.com. I order a lot of wine from wine.com. I started when the pandemic hit, when I couldn't go out and about, and I really love it. And I will tell you that I will not be going back to purchasing wines from the store. They are the largest retailer in the world, and if you name a wine, they have it unless they're out of stock. Shipping, if you don't have free shipping via way of joining their stewardship program, which I believe is around $50 a year, sign up with them, give them your email address. They will email you when they're going to have free shipping days. And they are quite often that they have free shipping days, okay? But if you want to go in with a neighbor or a sister or a coworker and say, hey, you know, I'll pay half of the stewardship at $50 and you pay the other half, and that way we can order together and maybe save on it like that. I mentioned them in one of my Wine with Wanda shows, and they gave me a courtesy membership. So that was very kind of them. But it's a really nice bargain because the average shipping cost is around $16. And so if you have that free stewardship program or free shipping day, which is even better, you're really going to save yourself some coins. But so the next one I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about a rosé. So I mainly drink rosés in the summer and spring, but I do occasionally drink them outside of that. So this I want to show you, I put, because this bottle is called a Skittle bottle. Can you see the shape of it, everybody? The shape is reminiscent of a bowling pin, which are called Skittles. So this is what's known as a Skittle bottle. If you look at the top, I love the top. The top has people dancing at the top. You see them doing the mamba and the cha-cha. But this is by a company called Montaude. It is from Provence, the Provence area of France. Now, France is the leader in making rosés. America is the second. France does it better. So this wine is probably made from a Grenache and a Mourvedre. Those are wines those grapes you will hear a lot when you hear wines from France and wines that make up a rosé. Mourvedre, Grenache, Cabernet Sauvignon, like that. But this is a beautiful, beautiful wine. I am enamored with the bottle. I love the shape of that bottle. It's almost ergonomically correct the way you can hold it like that. But so the rosés are made by taking the juice, which is called must, M-U-S-T, and it's all white. It's only a color because you add the skins at some point. So they take the white grape juice and they add the skins for a certain amount of time, generally a couple of days, a couple of hours, depending on what color they want, what type of structure they want from the pink wine, the rosé. They are dry, they're not sweet, everybody, but they are so refreshing. I mean, on a hot summer day, they are great with pulled chicken, barbecue chicken sandwiches, egg salad sandwiches, sushi, really marvelous with sushi or rosés. They're drink ice cold, they're nice and cold, and they taste like strawberries and watermelon. There's a citrus on the back, usually a fresh lemon, but mainly you get the taste of the strawberry and the watermelon. And they are light to medium body. And I only drink the ones from France. There's no point in bothering with the other ones as much to me, but there are a couple that are nice. Okay, so any questions so far? Oh, don't break the glass.
Yes, we have another question in the chat. Are wine blends common?
Let's talk about wine blends. They're way too common. Thank you for that marvelous question. I would have gotten to it, but you got to it before I did. So here's an issue with the blends. They're so prevalent on the shelves. There's a problem for novice wine drinkers with the blend. I don't suggest them to novice wine drinkers. And let me tell you why. If you drink a blend and it's made of 3, 4, 5 different grape varietals. You don't know what you're tasting. You're just tasting the recipe as a blend. Until you learn what a Cabernet Sauvignon tastes like on its own, or a Mourvedre, or a Pinot Noir, you can recognize it on your palate with your nose. You're not learning anything from that. You may be drinking something that's enjoyable, and there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. So I'm not saying do not purchase a blend. I'm just saying it doesn't do you a favor. The other problem with it is they switch those up like that, and you won't know the difference because they won't tell you what's in a lot of them. A lot of them don't even say what's in them. Now, there's a rule, and there's a rule to be broken. That does not include a Bordeaux blend from France. A Bordeaux blend from France is also a blend. If you ever find one, buy it, drink it. Everything else, I'm going to say it's a hodgepodge, because this is why a lot of them are produced. Say their Merlot didn't come out very well this harvest. It can happen. They can't make it into a Merlot now. They have to add a few other things to give it some structure, the right color, the right amount of cocoa, the right amount of cherry, the right amount of this, the right amount of that. They have to keep adding all these different wines to get something that tastes right. Well, the next time they make that same blend, now their Merlot was too good to put in the blend. They have to switch up with some other wine. You don't know what you're getting the next time, and they don't always tell you, and they're not legally bound to tell you. I stopped drinking blends a long time ago, unless it's a Bordeaux blend, which I do have, and I won't get into too much because they're more not really a wine 101 course. But when you're drinking blends, you don't really know what you're drinking. Do you know what a cab tastes like in a glass by itself? Well, if you do, you won't want it blended with anything else because it's so magnificent. It's terrible to blend it, you know. It's like putting pearls on a pig. You don't want to blend a beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon with a really half-witted Merlot, and then now you're drinking this. It's better to learn the wines individually. As a white wine, everybody, I would start with a Sauvignon Blanc. They're very easy to describe. They're very specific. The Sauvignon Blanc is known for that heavy grapefruit nose. They're known for that citrus on the palate, very, very much grapefruit and lemony. They're lovely with anything from the sea, a Sauvignon Blanc. I only drink the ones from New Zealand. I suggest you drink the ones from New Zealand. They're the very best of the bunch. New Zealand literally has stole the market on Sauvignon Blancs. They range from $10 up to maybe $25. They're not very expensive. Kim Crawford makes them. A very inexpensive one. It's called Brand Coat, BRANCOTT. So New Zealand makes a beautiful Sauvignon Blanc. I can't imagine even bothering drinking them from elsewhere. But yeah, that's the issue with the blends. Does that make sense to the person who asked the question of me?
Yes, she responded, got you, thanks.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's a bit of a bone of contingency, because I think that they definitely are kind of bamboozling us a little bit. I think it went so well that they keep doing it. So you didn't, if it didn't come out well, just throw them all together in a pile like a fruit salad. Well, I'm eating a fruit salad, but I'm not tasting any one specific piece of the fruit, because the cantaloupe wasn't all that fresh. I had to get rid of it and put in the pile. You know how you tell your kids, guys, eat the bananas or they're going to go bad on you, because you can't waste the banana. So that's kind of a lot what that is. So try and drink the single varietals if you can, everybody. Any other question before I move on? Okay, so I received a couple questions via email, and please email me, guys, anytime you like. I'm really good at getting back with my emails. These were sent to me by people who did not want to ask them in the Zoom chat, and I get that. So, the first one is, what is a vegan wine? Have you all saw that? Like, this wine is vegan. Have you been seeing that at all? So what they're talking about is usually white and sparkling. Usually they use egg whites to strain the sediments out of the wine, and it gets the sediments out, and then the egg white just is thrown away, obviously. Well, vegans aren't tolerant of that, and I get that. So when it says it's a vegan wine, it means that they did not use the egg white. They're using a pad made of some type of cotton fiber that they put in to soak up sediments now. So the vegans are happy with the products. Okay, so whoever asked that, if you're here tonight, that's what that means. There's no egg whites. Oh, they also use gelatin as well instead of egg whites, which is, vegans aren't doing any type of gelatin. The next one is, the difference between a twist-off cap and a cork. There's a very big difference. So the twist-off cap is made of aluminum. They're best drank young. That's why it has that. It doesn't let any type of air in or out. It doesn't let gases out and does not let air in. It actually costs more than some corks, though, I recently learned. I just recently learned that myself. Now, the cork allows the air to come in and allows gases to escape. That will help your wine to age like a red wine. Say you spend $25 on a red wine and you want to keep it for a couple of years. You're not going to go with a twist-off cap with that. Your twist-off cap will be good for your rosés and your white wines, everybody, but they're probably not going to be used as much for a red wine. Oh, the next question is, are you part of or affiliated with alcohol or liquor brand? No, I am not affiliated with any distributor or wine company or any type of wine brand, which I do enjoy because I'm able to say exactly what I'm thinking. If I don't like a wine, then I say so. If I love a wine, I'm more than happy to tell you. I am affiliated with a beverage company called Joy Jog. This is a Joy Jog glass, by the way, and it is from their European collection. I am affiliated with them. They sponsor all of my glasses and stemware for my show and for my Zoom chats. So I am affiliated with Joy Jog, and I love working with them, and I love their diversity and their products. The next question I have, about the sommelier. I think I answered that pretty well, though. I think I answered the sommelier question pretty well. Right. So do we have any other questions before we move on, everybody?
If you could define sulfites and tannins, and maybe this will come up with the reds.
Oh, yeah, Will, I'm happy
Okay.
to go ahead with that. So people are concerned about sulfites. Well, I will tell you that most wines do have sulfites, but not all of them. There are wines that do not have them. They didn't put them in. It's not a part of what they're doing. They can be organic and they did not put a sulfite in. So I will tell you the sulfites are not in just wine. If you eat a turkey sandwich from Subway, or you're making a turkey sandwich or bologna or ham, you're getting way more sulfites than you would with a glass of wine. Coca-Cola has a tremendous amount of sulfites in it, diet or regular. Some people think that it gives them a headache, and it might. I can't say that. I don't know that it doesn't. More than likely, when you drink red wine, you got a headache from it, it's probably from not drinking enough water. You're not hydrated enough. You could be getting it that way. It's also when the seeds, skins, and stems mix together, you get histamines. So you could be getting a headache from the histamines going up into your head and giving you a slight headache. It could be from that. And a lot of people don't drink red wines because of that. I do not get headaches from drinking red wine. So the tannins. Tannins is a huge word. OMG, it's a very, very big word. Tannins are from the seeds, skins, and stems of a wine. They're going to be in your red wines, and they're going to be in that orange wine because it had the skins. It's when the insides of your cheeks, and you get that puckering from it. Now, if they're overly strong, the tannins, the wine is probably too young. With aging of a red wine, the tannins smooth out so much nicer. They're so much more palatable and agreeable. They're not quarrelsome, as I like to say. Now, if you are drinking a wine that's heavy in tannins, like an Aglianico from Italy, Cabernet Sauvignon can have some pretty aggressive tannins, even if it is older. You can always have it with a soft white cheese, like maybe like a baby Swiss, or a Vermont white cheddar. It'll soothe out those tannins, maybe like a herb goat cheese or something like that to smooth out the tannins of it. But the best way to have tannins that aren't too aggressive and in your face is to make sure the wine has had some age to it. Like if you have a Cabernet Sauvignon, I was going to bring a couple out, but I didn't get them. So if you have, let's just say, a 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon, well, it's okay to purchase it, but I don't think it's okay to open it. And I know hey, Wanda, I just bought it. I bought it to drink. Well, you bought it to drink in a year or two. It just isn't ready, everybody. It's too young. The tannins are going to be very sharp, and you're going to get a really heavy alcohol taste with really sharp tannins. You're going to be down on the wine because you're going to say the wine didn't deliver, didn't do anything for me. It was awful. It wasn't the wine. You drank the wine too young, everybody. And it's easy to do that. So I would say a Cabernet Sauvignon, if you look on the shelf and you see a Cabernet Sauvignon for $7 and it says 2018, leave the wine where it is. It's too cheap and it's too young. That's not a wine that you want to drink at that price point. It's not an example of a Cabernet Sauvignon. A lot of times these really what I call $2 chuck wines, they're made in a plastic container and they throw in wood chips to give it a little bit of like it's been in real oak, but it hasn't been. An oak barrel is around $3,000 or more. If your wine costs $7, can you really afford a $3,000 barrel? You can't be tricked by that. They've taken wood chips and thrown in the mix, which is disgraceful to someone like me who was completely enamored with wine. So, and I believe me, I get all about money. I raised a son almost single-handedly, and I understand money. That's not the case now, but and I put him through school, and my son, by the way, everybody, I don't mean to be a shameless shout out, but my son is one of the writers for Parent Magazine. So please check out his work, Sterling Haynes. So I was, trying to make provisions to raise a child. So I get money. Don't think that I don't. But if you're going to want to buy a $7 cab, you're making a very, very bad mistake. It's not going to deliver. If you take and get like a Wente, W-E-N-T-E from California for around $15, $18, and it's like a 2017 or older, you're going to do just fine. Now, Cabernet Sauvignons can go all the way up to the roof. Believe me, they can. Way past what I am able to do, 200, 300, 400. You can go high with a cab, and they're worth every dime. So if you're someone who can do that, go for it and let me know what you think. But an average Cabernet Sauvignon, I would say, would be 17 or older. And you want to probably spend at least $15, $18, $20 on a bottle. Wente makes a very nice one for that price point. And some of the stores are alphabetized. So Wente will be all the way at the bottom where the W's are. But they do serve the Wente on first class flights. So it's a nice wine for the money, everybody. But a Cabernet Sauvignon needs time to age. It needs for you to be willing to invest a few dollars in it. You'll never be sorry. I promise you. I stand by that statement. If you're willing to spend $18, $20 on a cab and give it a couple years or buy it from 2017 backward, you're going to be really happy with the product. You'll taste that cocoa and that cedar and that sage and that beautiful stuff that it can offer. Let's talk about Merlot. So I happen to love a classic Merlot. Love a classic Merlot. Be careful. Your wine may say Merlot on the bottle. This is a 2017 by Santa Emma. But what they're doing now, because they aren't coming in the way they want it, is it's only part Merlot. You have to do your homework, everybody. Turn the bottle over, look at the label, look online, ask questions. I like single varietal wines. I rarely ever drink blends unless it is a Rhone or a Bordeaux blend from France. Another whole nother game. But so I did a Merlot tasting, everybody. A lot of people quit drinking Merlot because there was this silly movie, poorly directed and poorly acted, where they made fun of Merlot. And people took that to heart for some reason. This was a movie, guys. They stopped drinking Merlot. I was so shocked at that. Well, it's made a big comeback, but it isn't always 100% Merlot. Santa Emma is 100% Merlot. I did a tasting and I purchased a few wines that were around that $50 price point. And I purchased this one. I purchased a couple of Columbia Crest in Washington State, makes a beautiful 100% Merlot for around $12. Smells just like cocoa powder and like cooked cherries. Amazing. Well, this one, it sure did, and it's $15 all day long. It's Santa Emma. This brand makes a couple of other wines. It makes a cab, by the way. I got it from wine.com. You may find it elsewhere. Cleveland is a lot more affluent in a lot of things than Canton is. So you all have Heinens there and some other really nice places to purchase wine. Canton is not so much like that. That's why whenever I get a chance to go to Cleveland downtown, I run because I love Cleveland. It's just so much more polished. So it's a large metropolitan city in all fairness. But yeah, Santa Emma Merlot, make sure you know what you're buying. La Pasto makes another one that I believe is at least 99% Merlot, and it is delicious for that price point. But Merlot is a delicious, delicious wine. It pairs beautiful with Italian food, pizza. It's really nice. I don't eat that anymore, but with a steak hoagie with those mushrooms and the cheese and the A1 sauce and the onions. Yeah, it's a really nice, Merlot's a beautiful wine. Don't overlook it, everybody. It's been around a long time. It's one of the noble grapes of France, like the Malbec and that. I'll touch base on Malbec because I know the millennials love Malbec. I don't drink a lot of Malbec. It's a lot. It's very, very heavy. It's very, very strong. And the tannins can be, OMG. But it is a very nice wine. It's very full-bodied. It's strong. It's bold. They're from Argentina. Get the ones from Argentina. They make them in France as well. The grape is actually from France originally, but Argentina, Mendoza, to be specific, Argentina makes the best Malbecs ever. They're very inexpensive. Again, try to get one with some age. You definitely do not want a 2019 Malbec. It will be very aggressive, and you will find yourself almost in a fist fight with this wine because it's so assertive. So try and get one with some age to it if you want to go the Malbec route. They're not very expensive. And let it breathe. When you open up a big wine like a Cab or a Malbec, you want to give it some space. Let it breathe. Leave the bottle open for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, if nothing else. And don't forget the swirl. Because even if you didn't do that, you can at least swirl and get some air in the actual glass, everybody. Any questions so far? About the reds? Would you all like me to move on to dessert wines? Sure. Sweet wines. So dessert wines. A lot of wine professionals do not like sweet wines. I happen to like sweet wines when they are of quality. I don't like it because simply it's sweet. I don't care for a Moscato. It's very, very elementary. It's sugary sweet. I don't feel it's worth me to drink it. Now, if you like it, I certainly don't mean anything by that, but you're not doing yourself a favor if you only drink sweet wines. Let me tell you what. You're slathering your tongue down consistently with all that residual sugar. You're not leaving your palate open for other varietals of wine. Sweet wines are delicious. I do love them, but I like the quality ones. Like a late harvest wine, a late harvest Riesling from Washington State, like Kung Fu Girl or Hope. They're inexpensive, guys. The Kung Fu Girl is spelled just like it sounds. It's from Washington State. It's a later harvest Riesling. It's just a tiny bit sweet, maybe about 20% sweet, just enough to satisfy that. It pairs beautiful with Asian food, Indian food, Thai, that type of thing, because it's got a little bit of residual sugar. Really beautiful wine. It's the Kung Fu Girl wine. Any late harvest wine will be a little bit on the sweet side. There is a late harvest Malbec. Very strong, very sweet. There are some orange Muscat wines that are sweet. Late harvest Torrontés, they're sweet. There's late harvest Sauvignon Blancs. There are late harvest Chenin Blancs. A late harvest wine may give you the sweetness that you're looking for without being too cloyingly sweet. Ice wines, they're becoming real popular in the next month or so. The holidays are only a breath away. I can hardly believe it. So they really are nice at the holidays. The bottle is very, very small, as you know. Well, here's the thing. You can't be hard on the winemakers, everybody. There's a lot that goes into making an ice wine. My goodness, they have to pick the grapes while they're still frozen on the vine. And they had to have been frozen for 3 consecutive days in a row. That's the United States. Germany, I think it's even more serious. And Canada, where the finest ones are from, I think they're even more serious than that. There's been a lot of talk of frostbite, catching the cold. I mean, before you get to have a cup of coffee and a scrambled egg, you're out picking grapes in the dark. I mean, that's out there, you know. If I produce ice wines, you pay way more than that for them. So they started around $38, $42 a bottle. You'll get about 2 1/4 glasses per bottle. So if you're having guests, you know you're going to love the wine, just get a couple of bottles. If you go to like Giant Eagle, you get like perks or gas perks or something. Again, you all are in Cleveland. Heinens is there. They have an incredible array of things that we don't have. I think you all have a Myers now, a Myers 50 Acre or something like that. You all have more than what we have here. But yeah, the ice wines are very, very sweet. However, they usually are made from a Vidal Blanc grape, which has a lot of acidity on the back of it. It's called a lift. When you have a sweet wine, it needs to have a lift. Otherwise, it's flat and it's just sugary. So with that acidity lift to it, Ferrante's from Geneva, Ohio winery, Geneva, Ferrante's makes an award-winning ice wine. Have you all been to Gervasi here in Canton, Ohio? Any of you?
I've heard of it.
Okay, Gervasi's probably, well, no, not probably. It's the top winery in the state, and for good reason. They have hotels, and you name it, they have it. They make a beautiful ice wine from a Vidal Blanc grape. It has that acidity lift to it. So just when you're getting enough sweet, it'll bring the acidity in and bring it, lift it up a little bit. They're delicious. I do love them. I know they're a little bit on the pricey side, but if you're already into the holiday thing with the pricing, you may as well treat yourself to a bottle. But yeah, any questions so far before we close out, everybody?
I have a related question. Sometimes I'll see wines in the store that maybe say blueberry or raspberry, or they seem to have some sort of fruit. Are they actually made from that fruit, or are they adding fruit juice, or do you know how those are made?
Yes, thanks for bringing that up. Those are called fruit wines. They are generally 100% that fruit. Breedenbaugh Winery, I don't know what part of the state it's in, does make some award-winning fruit wines. They're very, very sweet. For me, they're way too sweet, but they are good. They're just very, very sweet. The blackberry one is phenomenal. It has a decent amount of alcohol in it, what I call a little giddy up and go. The cranberry one is a great one to have around the house during the Thanksgiving time, everybody. The color is magnificent. They're around $18, $20 a bottle. I think they could have gone up. I don't go to the stores all that much anymore. Yeah, they're called fruit wines. They are dessert wines. They're very, very sweet. They can be mixed with a drier wine if you're looking to make a cocktail, maybe with a little bit of a spritzer in it, maybe. Like maybe you have a Merlot, which is dry, red, and you want to add a little bit of, let's say, the blackberry wine. Add a little bit of club soda, maybe. Stir it around a little bit and maybe make yourself up a cocktail. It won't be so sweet. But no, as far as I know, I would say 99 point of this, they are not added anything else. They are just made from that fruit. There are some wines that add food coloring, as you know. I think it's called Magic 33. The 19 Crimes are kind of guilty of that, adding a lot of the food coloring to their wines. If you drink a little bit and your tongue turns like that, like the rapper Snoop Dogg, he has a wine out with 19 Crimes. It's the color of a Crayola crayon. There's no way that wine is not juiced up with food color. The color is too unnatural. So they don't have to tell you legally, which the Food and Drug Administration, whatever. But there are some wines, and 19 Crimes is probably one of the ones with a lot of food coloring in it. So just be careful if you're someone who's health conscious, and I happen to be. And if a wine is good, it should have its own color. Don't you all agree? It shouldn't have to be juiced up with coloring, But yeah, try the fruit wines if you like sweet wines, everybody. They make really nice gifts if the person likes sweet wine. Again, they are very sweet. There's one called St. James, the person who asked that question. St. James makes a cherry wine. It's a gorgeous red color. That wine is really delicious. I enjoy it. Again, it is very, very sweet. It isn't slightly sweet. It's extremely sweet. So if you buy it, know that going in. The peach one, I don't suggest. It tastes like the liquid in a can of clean peaches, and I don't like this wine at all. It's a mistake. But the one that's called the cherry one from St. James is a really nice fruit wine.
And mentioning the dessert wines, we do have an upcoming program where we're featuring you again for dessert wines and chocolates, and I'm putting that right now in the chat. I don't think it's clickable, but you could always copy and paste that into your browser, and you can register for that program as well if you're interested.
Please make sure you come in. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have some very unusual chocolates. We're going to have some standard chocolates that are just in the good old-fashioned grocery store. There is organic Hershey's out now. It is not the same bar as the regular Hershey's. You wouldn't believe it sits on your tongue and literally melts on your tongue. It's creamier. It's better quality. It's not too much more. I think a normal Hershey's bar is what, $1. This is more like $1.75, so it won't break most of us. But you might try those, and you might bring those to the tasting when you come. I'm going to have some very high-end chocolate, so I'm not expecting anyone else to have. I don't expect it. I'm also a chocolate professional as well. I'm definitely a chocolate connoisseur. I started eating when I was a young girl. I had a great grandmother who was very well-to-do, and she always had extremely gourmet chocolates around, and I have the hips to prove it. So make sure you try that Hershey's Organic, okay? It's marvelous. But yeah, make sure you try that, everybody. Make sure you come. That'd be a lot of fun. And I was telling the host that as you know, I'm a wine writer as well. I have zines. In my generation, they're called booklets, but the younger people call them zines, Z-I-N-E-S. One is all about white wine. It has some recipes in it. The other one is all about red wine, white wine crazy and red wine crazy. If you email me, I'll be happy to send them to you in a PDF form. You're welcome to share them. There's obviously no cost or anything with them. They were already sold to a company in New York that I write for. So you're more than happy to ask them. You will really get a kick out of them. There are no brands. It's just the wines themselves, and you'll learn a lot. So FYI, if you want to email me, I'm more than happy to send them to you.
Looks like we have one last question here. I once had chocolate wine. Can you explain how that is made?
Yeah, I actually have a chocolate wine too that I have not opened. The one that I have is a red wine with the chocolate. It just has the chocolate liqueur in it. That's where you're getting the chocolate flavor from, the chocolate liqueur. And
so is it a red? You said that's a red wine with?
Yes, the one that I have. I assume the one she has would probably be as well. Have her give you an emoji thumb up if it is. But yeah, it just has the liqueur in it. They are very nice. They have a decent amount of alcohol with them actually, but they do pair well with really dark chocolate, and they are very, very sweet.
Well, if there aren't any other questions. Oh, we've got another question.
Sure.
Or a comment. This was so informative. I can't wait to go wine shopping now. Definitely reading the back of the bottles from now on. Thank you so much. So I think that's a great sentiment that I'm going to second. Thank you so much for joining us, Wanda. I learned a lot. This has been a really interesting program. Great presentation. And again, we're going to have you back on December 8th at 6:30 p.m. where we'll be talking about dessert wines and chocolate. So if you're interested, please again join us there. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you for coming and talking to us, Wanda.
Thanks, everybody. My pleasure. Cheers.